Hi, I'm Susan with Kiwi Designs, and I know a lot of you guys have requested more videos on how we pick paper. So in this video, we're just going to walk through some of the steps that we take and the things that we keep in mind when we're putting together paper kits. Now, to help us with that, in honor of our Christmas in July, we're going to be using this My Mind's Eye paper line that I've had for a while. Now, we recommend using about 5 to 6 sheets of paper. We use 5 sheets for a 2-page spread, and so we use 2 for our background pieces, 1 main sheet, which is going to be our borders and accessory, and then also a supporting sheet, which we're going to go over those here in a minute, and then also a sheet for our photo mats if you like to mat your photos. Now, we say 5 to 6 sheets because if there's an extra sheet that you either just love or you can't decide between 2 sheets, or even if there's a back of one of your sheets that don't really work with the coordinating papers that you've already selected for the other pieces, then sometimes it's just helpful to grab that 6 sheet when you're at the store or when you're putting the paper kits together. It'll make your job a lot easier when you sit down to scrapbook. Okay, so to get started, we're going to start by picking our main sheet. And you'll notice that when you look at a paper line, you have a lot of beautiful patterns and colors that kind of just stick out to you. And usually there's one pattern that you just catches your eye or that you just love, and it's, you know, love at first sight basically. But so that's the piece that you kind of want to go towards. Now, this is going to be different for everyone, but these are some patterns that I just kind of love at first glance. So I'm going to start by pulling those out first. And another thing to keep in mind for your main sheet is that each paper line has a color palette. So it's helpful that if you want either your supporting or your main sheet at least includes if not all the colors from that palette, but most of them. So for example, this paper line, you'll notice this one right here. Let's see, you got a dark blue, a light blue, a light green, a brighter green, and then also a gray, and then the cream. So right there is your color palette. And some patterns use all of them, and some of them only use a couple. So that's something to keep in mind, is your color palette when you're choosing one of your patterns. Okay, so as far as your main sheet goes, again, very personal. It's going to be different for each of us, so you just kind of want to pick that piece. And then also keep in mind what's on the back sides of your sheets, because you want to be able to use both sides of your piece of paper for your layers and your accessories. So looking at the back of this, I like it, but I don't love it necessarily. So that's kind of a negative for this piece of paper for me. The red, I could definitely use the red on that. And then also I could even use the blue for, you know, snowflakes or whatever I choose to use as my accessories. So those are things that I keep in mind when I'm picking that paper. Let's see here. And you really just kind of play with them by laying them on top of each other. You could do things like that. Out of these 3 for my main sheet, I personally think I love the snowflake. So I'm going to start with this one first. And again, it's great because I really like the back side of it as well. So this is our main sheet. And then as far as your supporting one, same thing. You're just going to pick the patterns and just kind of layer those together. Whether you lay it on top or you layer it underneath, you just want to kind of see what those 2 patterns look like when they're next to each other. And so that's what the feel that you're kind of going for. Again, gonna be different for each of us because we all kind of have a taste of our own or a style of our own. So it just depends on what you're working on, what kind of look you like. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that we recommend the inking. Inking is really great not only for hiding blemishes or imperfections or pencil marks, anything like that, but even when you have more of this white toned patterns, when you ink those edges, it's really going to help those layers pop from each other. So inking is really important, and just keep that in mind too, because when you layer those together, a little ink we'll definitely make those down from apart from each other. Okay, so this polka dot, I do like polka dots. That could also work, so let me show you that. Let's just kind of go through the process here. Let's see what else we got. A stripe. Well, that's the same one. I kind of have duplicates of everything here. That's a little bit darker than the look. I feel like I'm going with the snowflake, so you can kind of see that's a little bit different. Although the stripes is really cute, but again, if you can't use both sides, then you might just want to kind of stay away from it because you really want to take advantage of both sides. So I think as far as that goes, I'm probably going to go with this effect. I like those two patterns. It gives me two patterns that I really enjoy, but I also like the backs. So those will be really cute accessory pieces as well. Now, once we have two sheets that we are going to use for our borders and accessories, our layers, what we're going to do next is pick our background paper. Now, your background paper, we recommend something subtle, whether it's a blender or a two-tone. Now, a blender is a pattern where it's the same shade, so it's two shades of the same color. So, for example, I'm not sure they have any blenders here. This is kind of a blender. Not really, but kind of. But you see how it's both shades of reds, but they kind of just blend together. So that's a blender, and you'll notice it when you see it in a sheet of paper, or even two tones where you use two colors. So for example, you have this polka dot, you have red and green. So that makes a good background too. Two-tone patterns make a good background. So with that said, I'm just gonna quickly pull out from this paper line what pieces that could possibly be our background paper. So those could all be subtle enough. Now, if you want to use something like this for your background, feel free to. Again, it just helps that when you're putting those layers on top to not use something so busy, but to let your borders and your accessories really kind of pop off that background. So for example, this piece, you can see how that really pops off. Now, with that said, you want to keep in mind again what's on the back of your other sheets. So we're already using this pattern on the back of one of our borders. So I would not recommend using that as a background piece. And the same with this one, because we already have it on the back of one of our borders. So that leaves us with these three. So you could do something like that. Doesn't really do anything for the layers, doesn't really pop them, so I wouldn't recommend that one. Again, unless you like it, because each of us are different. These are just some rules and guidelines you can kind of keep in mind. Now that does pop really nicely, which does give you a really fun Christmas festival, festive look. So that could be really cute. Or you can even go very simple. And it does seem like I'm kind of going with this whole white effect, which is really fun. But keeping in mind, I do have these other patterns that I'm going to be using. So this is an option for sure that you could do, or this one, like that. Now, when it comes to your photo mats, either one would work. You can use, patterns if you want to, or cardstock, but again, you're just going to kind of do this layering effect that I have. So say I want this as my background paper, then I can even use that as my photo mats. So again, just kind of sliding it in however you want to do it, and you'll see that the whole fill is coming together. Or you could do it the other way, background paper, photos. I think I personally like, let's see, what do I personally like? Knowing that I have some reds and things on the back of here, see how that doesn't necessarily pop if this is our background. I think I'm gonna go ahead with, this is our background, so we need two of them because this is it for a 2-page spread. So we have this for our background, photo mats, a layer, and some accessories. So this right here, these 5 sheets, would be a paper kit. And what I personally do is once I have it picked out, whether you're in the store picking it out or you're just going through your paper stash, which I know a lot of us have a paper stash, what I do is once I kind of get this paper kit together, I just stick it in a page protector. If you have pictures in mind for this paper kit, stick those in as well, and then you have a paper kit ready for you when you have a couple minutes or an hour or whatever, even if it's 30 minutes. You did a lot of the work beforehand, so it makes it so much faster when you actually sit down to scrapbook. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put together this layout, post a picture after this video so you can see the complete layout, and then definitely add my pictures to the layout too. So hopefully some of these tips have helped you, opened your mind to when you're looking at paper, things to keep in mind. And again, the one advice I would give you is that if you are buying paper, like adding to your current paper stash, buy in sets of 5. Don't just buy random pieces of paper. Buy in sets of 5. This again will speed up your process when you sit down to scrapbook, because you already did it when you bought the paper instead of doing it afterwards. So that's what I recommend. If you guys have any questions, definitely visit us at kiwilane.com. You can email us at customerservice@kiwilane.com, or you can even join us on Facebook. Thanks for watching.